All right, we are at 40 days down to Porto for my nephew's wedding. If you're just joining for the first time, my nephew is getting married in Porto, Portugal. And it is now 40 days left until his wedding. We're going a little bit early, so we'll be there a few days before. But we're counting down, trying to get ready to go to a wedding in Portugal. And so part of that is trying to learn enough Portuguese so we don't starve or don't get lost or don't have anything. And so today I thought, we got to be able to eat. And so I thought maybe today, instead of a Portuguese word of the day, we'd go through kind of several things so that if we're at a restaurant or at a meal or something, we kind of know some of the basics. And so I grabbed a few things here, and we will start with this. This is a coffee mug or a coffee cup. The Portuguese word for cup is xícara, xícara. So if we are asking for a cup of coffee, and the word for coffee in Portuguese is café, very much like Spanish, café. So we would say, a xícara de café, xícara de café. So we need to be able to do that in the morning when we're having breakfast. So that's one of the other things is the meals. In the morning, our breakfast is called café de manhã. Café de manhã, which literally means coffee of the morning, instead of but it means breakfast, but literally it's coffee of the morning. So café de manhã. So in the morning, if you want to have breakfast, you want to have café de manhã, and you may go down there and you may say, I want xícara de café, café being coffee. And so one of the other things you may want in your coffee is milk. So if we have milk, the word for milk in Portuguese is leite, leite. It's pronounced almost just like Spanish. Spanish is leche, so it's leche. It's very, very similar. Spelled differently, L-E-I-T-E in Portuguese, in Spanish, L-E-C-H-E. So leche. So you may want leche in your cafe. So that's one thing. Then we might want some water. Water is very similar to Spanish, agua, basically the same word, agua. And instead of a xícara, we might have a glass, a vaso, vaso. Vaso de agua, vasos de agua. So we need to be able to ask for water. If you want ice in your water, ice is gelo, gelo, like G-E-L-O, gelo. Sounds almost like jello in English, gelo. So we want a vaso de agua con gelo. So for with, we say com. In Spanish, you say cone, but in Portuguese, it's an M instead of an N, com. Vaso de agua com gelo. So we can order something to drink. We can get some ice. We can get a cup of coffee. We can have milk in it. So if we need if we're getting coffee, it's cafe, cafe. So now we can do that. If we need utensils, a fork, garfo, garfo. So if we need a fork, we want a garfo. If we want a knife, that's a faca, a faca. We need a faca for a knife. And spoon, I didn't look this up. I'm going from memory, but I believe the correct word for spoon is cuillère, cuillère. And so if we need utensils to eat with, we can do that. And so if we want a plate, we want a prato, prato. And it's like, in Spanish, it's plato with an L. In Portuguese, it's prato with an R. So prato. So we would ask for a prato. And so like for our breakfast, we probably want eggs, which in Portuguese is ovos, ovos, O-V-O-S. So we might ask for ovos fritos, fried eggs. for our breakfast. Or I believe, I'm not sure about this, but I believe the word for omelet in Portuguese is omeleto. I believe it is, but I probably don't. I'm not 100% sure of that. You probably have to double check me on that. But so we can go. We can ask for a menu. Usually, there's a different word for menu in Portuguese, and I think it's cardápio. Cardápio. Although I have to double check that too. Although I believe that they would normally understand menu if you ask for a menu, but I believe the word for menu in Portuguese is cardápio. So we can ask for a menu, we can ask for water, we can ask for coffee, we can get milk in our coffee, we can ask for eggs. If we're going for lunch, lunch is almoço, almoço. And if we're going for dinner, dinner is jantar, jantar. So we know what breakfast is, café de manhã. We know what lunch is, almoço. We know what dinner is, jantar. We can get a plate, prato. We can get a fork, garfo. We can get a knife, faca. And we can get a spoon, colher. We can get coffee, café. We can get agua, water, agua. We can get a vaso de agua, a xícara de café. And we can get milk, leche. So we can get those things. For our meals, the other meals, so meat is like Spanish, it's carne, carne. There are different words. I'm not sure if ham, I think the word for ham is jamon. I'm pretty sure it is, but I have to double check that to make sure. But I believe the word is jamon. And lots of times for beef, it's beefy, beefy. So we can get that. And for chicken, it's usually frango, frango. For turkey, now this might be different in Portugal. In Brazil, it was Peru, like the name of the country, Peru. In fact, if you wanted a turkey breast, it'd be peche de Peru. Peche means breast, so peche de Peru. So we can get and if you want fish, it's peixe, 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 peixe. So we can get fish, we can get eggs, we can get beef, we can get ham, we can get chicken, we can get turkey. And so that if we want a salad, it's salada. In Spanish, it's ensalada, but in Portuguese, it's just salada, salada. So we can get a salad. We can. So I don't think we're going to starve. For dessert, I believe the word for dessert is sobremesa. Sobremesa. I may need to double check that, but I believe it's sobremesa is for desserts. So anyway, we can get something to drink. We can get ice in it if we want. We can get coffee. We can get milk. We can get lunch. We can get breakfast. We can get dinner. And I think we can even get dessert. So those are the basic things I think we need to know. I think that we can read a menu if we need to. We can probably make out most of it, understand kind of what it is. And so that's important. And so when you're hungry, I think there are two ways to say it. Like I say, so I full disclosure, I am relearning some Portuguese. I have studied Portuguese for a while, but it is very, very rusty. I don't use it very often, so I'm having to refresh my memory on vocabulary and all of these things. And so don't think that this is like, I'm not one of those guys claiming to have learned all of this in a few days. That is not the case. I have, learned some Portuguese a while ago, and so this is kind of a refresher. But if you're hungry, you would say normally estou com fome, which literally means I am with hunger. So you might say estou com fome, or you might say tenho fome. Tenho means I have. So tenho fome means I have hunger, or estou com fome, I am with hunger. So those are ways you might say you're hungry. If you're walking around and you're with a guide and you're just starving and you need to stop, and you might just, you need to be able to tell them, hey, I'm hungry. He just stops, says, "Tô com fome." Say, "Tenho fome." Then they can kind of understand that. So, all right, that's sort of, I guess today was just sort of a little Portuguese lesson, and so we went through all kinds of words here today. I don't know which one to make. I guess we should pick one for the Portuguese word of the day, and I'm going to say xícara. Xícara is the Portuguese word of the day. And that's what we got for you today. And so we are at 40 days, counting down. I have been working on trying to learn some dance moves. I gotta be honest, it's not going well, but I'm gonna put some of them up. I'm gonna risk the embarrassment. I know I'll probably be read as a beat putting them out there. I can't believe I'm gonna put them out there, but I will. I'm gonna do it. So anyway, if any of you all the Portuguese speakers and I made mistakes, don't hesitate to correct my mistakes. I mean, I really want us to. I want to be giving out good information. If I made a mistake, totally get it, and I am not going to be one of those guys who will flame you for saying that I was wrong, because if I'm wrong, I need the correction, and if people are watching this, I want to try to make sure that the information I'm providing is as accurate as possible. That's it, my friends. Hope you have a good evening, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I have a playlist of these countdowns to Porto. You might check those out. Also, we have done a couple of other 50-day challenges in the past. One is 50 days of trash, which that was probably the best one, I would say. The second one was 50 days of fitness, which was, I thought, really good for me, but I'm not sure that it had a lot of people felt like, oh, this is just amazingly entertaining viewing. But I don't know. Some people seem to enjoy it. So you might check those out as well. If you like this and you think it's kind of fun, maybe you can share it with another friend. If you're going to Portugal, you're trying to learn Portuguese, if you're trying to figure out about weddings, any of those things, if you know someone who might enjoy that, maybe you can share it with them. Maybe you can like it. Maybe even subscribe and follow along while we do our countdown to Porto. And that's it, my friends. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.